Here are some flowers that I did yesterday, and I've got a bit of leftover glass that's kind of the same setup. So this is kind of what this is going to turn into here with any luck. So our first step is to come over to the glory hole. I've got a pipe that's been preheated. That's important so that the glass will actually stick to the pipe as we come over to the crucible furnace. So in here, I've got a crucible full of molten glass, and as I dip down into it, you'll see an orange glow. That's all molten glass. So I'm coming in and I'm just getting the tip in, come up and doing a little spin to try and keep a good glob on there. So right now that's about the consistency of honey. And if I keep it spinning, it keeps the glob centered on there. But I want to push the glass forward a little bit so that it's out off the end of the pipe. Because at the end of this, anything that's still on the pipe is just going to be wasted. So I've got still some heat on the very end because I didn't touch that onto the table. I'm going to grab my core color here, leave it in contact for a good long time so it picks up and grabs some color. Come over and slide into the glory hole and we'll melt that color in. Always turning. Right now it's not as important because glass is pretty cold, but we always want to, it's just a really good habit, turning the pipe and keeping everything centered on the pipe. So our next step is going to be to push that out into kind of a finger off the end of the pipe. That'll do two things. One, it'll cool the glass a little bit so that when I do my next gather, I'll be able to pick up more glass than if it was really hot. And two, it'll stretch it out so I get a better gather off the end of the pipe. So it looks like I'm melted in now. I'm going to go back over to the marving table and try and push that little finger out. So starting by pushing it off the pipe a little bit, coming up and working it into a little finger and back down again. And now I've got a little blob of glass with a bit of color right there on the end. So I'm going to come over and I might have to do two gathers to get enough glass on this one, because that was a pretty big pile over there. So normally I'd let this cool down a little more, but because I'm going to drip some glass off, so I'm going to just let a little glass drip back into the crucible because I want to have a smaller amount of glass right now. And that is because I'm going to gather again. I wasn't going to be able to pick up enough glass all at once there to be able to get as much color as I wanted. So now this is kind of the favorite part of glass blowing. This is where we stand around and wait for things to cool off. So right now that's just cranking along there. Still probably about 1800 degrees. We need to get it down probably closer to 1400 before I can go back in and grab a little more glass. And we can tell by that kind of dull red color in the center that we're at a good temperature. So coming back in, and I'm going to drip off a little bit, not quite as much, but you can see I got a nice big gather there. And always spinning, keeping it. If I stop, you can see it kind of droops down and starts falling off center. So always got to keep it rolling around. Again, I'm going to start by pushing it off the pipe a little bit. So I drop the pipe angle down and I'm pushing the glass forward. That's going to cool the glass on the back edge, and it allows me to have more glass out where I can use it. And since I'm picking up a big pile of glass, I'm going to heat the front end a little bit, just so it grabs the glass in that pile that we were looking at the beginning. So this will just be a few seconds in here, maybe 10-15 seconds to get a little more heat into that front edge, and then we'll come over and see how much of that pile we can pick up. If I can get half of it, we'll have more color than we need there. So you can kind of see that original color still buried down in there. So we come up vertical, we're going to let it drip down a little bit, and then I'm squishing it out. I'm going to roll the edge a little bit, trying to get a little more. I'm going slow. It takes a little bit of time for the glass to actually stick. If I go too fast, it's not going to stick well. But you can see we got a pretty good gather of glass there. Gently back on, trying not to shake any of that frit, which is the colored glass. Little chips are called frit. And heating those back in. So you can see we've kind of got a big disc out there on the end of the punny right now. The punny is the pipe I'm using. It's not like a normal glass blowing pipe, which is hollow. This one's actually solid because we're not doing a blown shape here. These flowers, while they do tend to come out hollow, which hopefully we'll see in a little bit, we're not actually blowing a bubble. So we're just working on getting all of that frit melted in, and some of those chunks were pretty big. You can still see some little lumps on the edge there. The larger the chunks, the longer it takes to melt those in. And we're really just looking to have those well melted in. I'm going to have plenty of heat to pull the flower just with what's left over after that heat up. And we're going to give this a little bit of a spin here just to widen it out a little bit so that I can come over to the bench and actually start pulling out. And I lied. I've been doing these for a couple days now, and I missed my timing on this one. So we're actually going to go back in and heat this up again because it's a little too cold for me to pull it out as much as I wanted to. So this could be one of those whoops pieces. I'm not sure if this is going to work out or not here. When doing the flowers, it's usually really important to get this all in one heat on that last step there, just for the timing to get everything to pull out properly and be able to get it off the pipe and into the annealer. So I'm just kind of doing a soft heat here. I don't want it real floppy, but I want it to be pulling off the pipe more, which is really difficult to do now because I pulled it out and my petals are going to heat more than the part that I want heated. But we'll see. So might be able to, okay, yeah. Now this is pulling out nicely now. And I can start dropping it off the pipe a little bit. I'm having a little trouble keeping it open just because it's a little bit too hot on that part, but that oftentimes is how you get kind of cool new designs. So we're getting it worked out there, switching over and trying to pull it off. Now I'm just trying to lengthen the stem part without collapsing the petals. And and it's not wanting to move a lot more. So I'm going to throw in an extra step here because this is really thick down here. I'm using a file with some water on it. This is not a normal step I would do, but because that stem is so thick, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be able to break it off on the next step. So we'll do another one to show you how this is really supposed to work, but here we've got an example of how you fix a whoops. So now I'm coming over to the knockoff table and we'll break this off over here. So a little tap and it pops off, and then we hit the end with a little torch action, and right now I'm just trying to clean up that back end, makes it less sharp, and hopefully will, oh, look at that, see that break there? So we got another break. The glass does what it's going to do, and you just say okay. So I got that end cleaned up, and we got a much shorter flower than we were hoping for, but it's plopping down in the annealer here, and that's how we make a whoops flower.